What's up, everybody? I went out for an AMC Unseen on Monday night and ended up hitting the lottery, seeing Gladiator 2 a few days early. This is going to be a non-spoiler review, and before we get into it, if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe so you're not missing out on breakdowns, reviews, and the daily news throughout the week. But enough from me, let's get into it. Alright, I'm gonna get started with the cast of this movie, and they were one of the strongest parts of the movie. There's a couple performances I was underwhelmed by, but for the most part, they were lights out. The man who led the way, at least for me, was the legendary Denzel Washington. Yes, he's just Denzel in ancient Rome, but it works, and he also has the best storyline next to Paul Mescal's Lucius. There's a moment between the GOAT and Connie Nielsen's Lucilla towards the end of the movie that when you watch this movie, for the second time, it's going to be a completely different experience, and I personally can't wait to see it again on Thursday. Paul Mescal was another one of the top performers, delivering a strong performance as a lead of the movie. Just like Denzel, Lucius's story definitely boosted this, but Paul deserves a lot of credit. He sold himself as Russell Crowe's son, delivering the strongest nostalgia-driven scenes from the movie, which that was kind of a shaky part, the nostalgia, and also he solidified himself as the leading man in Hollywood. Then the third head of the beast was Pedro Pascal. This was another performance I would deem great, and Pedro really shined in his action sequences too. He showed some great range, going from the fierce general to a caring man throughout this movie. Joseph Quinn also delivered a good performance, but I wouldn't quite say it was great. It was definitely the stronger performance between the two emperors, and he was great for a stretch in the middle of this movie. He just couldn't put it together for all of his screen time. And since we're on the Emperors, Fred Hechinger was one of the performances I was a bit disappointed by. He was so great in The White Lotus, and it felt like that would translate really well to this role as the bratty Emperor, but that wasn't the case. He showed flashes towards the end of the movie, so it's not that he was terrible, he just took too long to find his footing. Then last note on the cast, Connie Nielsen was one of the weak links in this movie. Her performance unfortunately fell flat, and it kind of brought some of her shared storylines down with it too. But moving on to the story, overall I thought it was a bit weaker than the first movie's story was. My immediate reaction was that it didn't pack the same punch as the original, but it still packed a hell of a punch, and having sat with the movie for a bit now, that stays the same. It was kind of like for every good bit, it came with a bad one, or maybe one that wasn't so good, not necessarily bad, as well as some great ideas that just didn't get fleshed out. Luckily, though, Lucius's story, that's at the center of the movie, was very strong, and his time to shine at the end, getting his father's armor, was very much earned. One thing that helped boost the story, bringing it a bit closer to the high bar the first movie set, was this score. Harry Gregson Williams did an incredible job getting the blood flowing during these epic action sequences right off the bat from the credits of the movie, in fact, and if you can see this in Dolby or IMAX for the sound boost, I'd do it. But I do it anyway because the movie's visually stunning too. Now, the visuals, they're more of a mixed bag than the score is, but that's more the VFX. I thought Ridley and John Matheson, the cinematographer, did a great job, and even the VFX had strong areas. I thought the caged animals below the Colosseum, the rhino, and all the blood spatter and explosions were good. But you also have things like the sharks in the Colosseum and the monkeys in action that, to be honest, just didn't look good. Finally, getting to the strongest part of the movie, I was blown away by these action sequences. I mentioned how great Pedro was, and that was right from the start as he's right there in the first battle that kicks off the movie, and then he continues to be badass into the Colosseum. Paul Mescal felt like he got a bit more comfortable with his choreography as we got to the Colosseum, but he was also good here, and Denzel and his stuntman, I'd assume he had a stuntman for most of this, even got going a bit too. The various Colosseum battles in the middle of this were just so damn good, and one of the Colosseum duels is so emotionally heavy, it's incredible. And so that'll do it for my review of Gladiator 2. While it wasn't equal to the first movie in quality, I would say this was a worthy sequel as it lands at a strong 8 out of 10 for me personally. But let me know what you thought of the movie once you've seen it down in the comments below, and make sure you have a great day.